Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Irina, and this is the podcast of Empowerment Hub together with Puria. Lovely guests from Germany, all the way from Schwarzwald. Puria, am I correct?
No,
Close to,
it's
no, not the Schwarzwald.
Bavarian forest,
Bavarian
but doesn't
forest.
matter. It's
Bavarian
just
forest.
on
There
the
we
opposite side.
go.
It's trees.
Yes, a lot of trees, a lot of greenery. And Puria, I met Puria around 7 years ago or even more through one of the very interesting course of energy language. So Puria has been studying and teaching energy language for over 20 years, and the course has benefited me so much that I absolutely had to ask Puria to do this podcast with me and also to collaborate together on a very interesting project in regards with sacred geometry. So, Puria, thank you so much for being here and being as a guest. And I love how you dressed up in red and I'm in the blue, dark blue. So, for the people who will see you for the first time, feel free to also introduce yourself and the work that you do. And yeah, we'll dive into the topic then.
Mhm. So I would say, first of all, thank you so much to having this chance to have this conversation with you and introduce this so meaningful work for me. So really for me personally, I benefited so much from it, and also the students I had in the years, I see the growth in them and the openings and the deepenings. So it's really a blessing to be able to share this work. And in regards of the colors, we are already in the flow, I would say.
Ah, it's like perfect match. So Puria, my question is, how did you end up on the path of sacred geometry, of energy language? What led you to it?
Yeah. I mean, I was always really interested to find out about life, of who we are, what is life for. So I had my first book about meditation when I was 16 and had some, what you would say, mm, deep spiritual openings already as a teenager.
Mm.
And then when I was already in my late 30s, I really had that intuition. It came almost as a dream-like vision that I would study with a woman for several years, especially during the night. And in that time, I had little kids. I had a part-time job. I already had clients because I already offered healing work. And I thought, I mean, how can that be working in the night? And it took almost a year until I opened a brochure and where I saw someone. I didn't know what she's doing, but I knew this is what I have to dive into. And that was shamanic work, basically. It was a month-long program. And there I got introduced to the sacred geometry and energy language. Um, and the interesting thing is that a lot of what is shared happens on such a different plane than our day-like consciousness or our intellect. It really works also on subconscious levels. And this is why a lot is also transmitted while you are sleeping. So you
Mm.
can have a lovely sleep, rest well, and be kind of, you are bathing on another level in that information, in that wisdom. So it's a very different way of learning. And I found out that kind of you sit kind of in a circle, and there is like someone who is in a, let's call it teacher position. Um, but it's not about how you have it in school and you need to be very focused and here and all your attention and your mind needs to be open. No, it requires a very relaxed state of being because all your levels of what you are kind of really addressed by those teachings, because as I said, it's not just intellectual. You couldn't learn it just from a book. The knowledge itself maybe is interesting, maybe sounds kind of, ah, yeah, I get it. But it's all about embodiment on different levels of who we are. And that requires more relaxation, more opening. And this is also how kind of the transmission of this wisdom is working.
Yeah. I remember because when I took this course with you I believe it was 7 years ago, I recall that there were moments where I just simply fell asleep. And you were sharing that it's okay, subconscious still understood, which I understood later that it is true
Mhm,
because it was a blessing the effects that I felt after
mhm,
the 8 sessions that we had together. So indeed, it has nothing to do, I agree, it has nothing to do with the style of classroom where you just sit and listen and your logical minds need to comprehend everything. But it's a way deeper subconscious comprehension.
mhm. Yeah,
And
and actually, uh, I emit a specific vibration which invites almost like a trance-like consciousness in a way. But
yeah.
that's where really, I mean, it's not, I don't manipulate people, but I offer a certain atmosphere, kind of, where you can just relax into,
Mm.
and that all your different levels, really the physical body can relax, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual. And that's the best way of being totally open so that this information on a frequency level can just wash through the system in a way.
Mm.
And that's a very different way of learning. And I so much enjoyed that relaxed way of learning. I thought, wow, if schools would work like that, how lovely that could be.
That would be a stressless reality if the school was like that. And by the way, you mentioned about different types of bodies, which I learned with you. And since then, I'm very aware of this difference because the initiation and the learning went indeed on 4 levels, right? The physical level, the mental level, emotional level, spiritual level. And that was the moment I realized, wow, we have number of levels of bodies or energy bodies, and all of them need a certain data and information. So we worked on all 4, and since then I'm much more attuned to each of the body, so to speak, the emotions, the mental body, the spirit body, separately, and totally 2 different things can be going on each. So it was a very interesting awareness and awakening to that reality as well. Apart from all the benefits that, of course, the course brought, which probably I should share, that at the end of the 8th course, um, I felt like some new, so 8th session, 8 weeks we had, some new skill sets open up personally for me, and I felt I could feel frequency of literally anything, like a person in front of me, or you would tell me an animal, how does that animal feel? How does this tree feel? Or anything. I felt like I could easily suddenly get in touch with any vibration around. And it was some skill that I just never experienced before. So it really felt like, wow, some new thing opened within me. And I was very impressed. So I want to ask you, what usually people experience after their initiation in sacred geometry? Because that was my experience, but is it a common experience or do different people experience different things? I'm very curious about that.
Mhm. Yeah, first of all, it really depends on who the person is, in which periods in their life they
Mm,
are.
mm,
And I mean, I can also share for me, but also bring some examples. For me, it was kind of it in a way, funnily, it also felt very familiar. So already in the first hour, I felt I know this. Something in me knows this. It
mm,
it didn't feel like some alien information. It felt more like almost a remembering.
Wow.
And that is what I hear quite often from people. That is, something in me is recognizing it. And of course, I mean, life in life, we are immersed all day long, all night long in vibrations in different
Oh,
qualities. We are surrounded by it, but what this course is a lot about is being able to differentiate it, to get it consciously, to also, you can have a meal where you have different ingredients in, and you can kind of just eat it and it tastes lovely. But if you're really into the qualities, you notice, there is ginger in it. Oh, I taste chili. There is some lemon must be in. It's kind of it brings
yeah.
a deeper understanding of what the ingredients are in it. And the other benefit is also, as you already mentioned, this different bodies. I mean, we use the word body for it. You could also say, if that feels a bit weird, there are different planes or different levels of who we are. But
Mhm.
as it's interlinked with your physical body, kind of, it's like you could say it's like fragrances which go through each other and become
Mm.
one smell, one fragrance. It's a lot about clearing those different levels. There is a lot of history, of conditioning, of programming, which might be has been of service
Mm.
in the past, but doesn't really necessarily be the best carrying it into the future. So a lot is really clearing those different levels, and that's also very kind of simple. And I sometimes also say, when we put our rubbish outside, we don't need to know what's in in it,
Great.
which is happy that it's gone. So we don't need to know consciously what we let go of or what doesn't
Mhm.
work anymore. There is really, you could say, there is a stream of a higher intelligence, a flow of it in which we bathe in, and that takes care. And yes, we are not totally gone. We are awake. We can have questions or agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember one lovely feedback from a guy. Actually, he was a dad, had a little kid, and he said, now when I'm sitting on a playground, the kids are around, I'm sitting there relaxed. I just have the sense that, like, I just can, like, almost pressing a button and be in a certain quality. I can just be in a happy quality. I can be in a motivated quality. I can be in a peaceful quality. And that just kind of happens so easily. And yeah.
Yeah, you just choose it consciously. I love the
Mhm.
metaphor that you said about the recipes, how you can feel different ingredients. This is exactly, I think, what I wanted to express as a gift from this knowledge was that I know what are the ingredients of the energy wherever I look, and I did not know that, and it's so mesmerizing. And then because many emotions and energies can mix, and it's not just one certain, but then it's a blend exactly. And then oh, it has this, let's say, even a joy with a bit of melancholy, or with bit of this and bit of that, and the awareness of that, and then consciously choosing what do you want to feel right now? How do you want to experience that? It's so powerful and empowering that I
And
feel that.
yeah. And where it's also very helpful is in all kinds of communication.
Mm,
Um, whether you are kind of working with clients or as a teacher or a mom or a dad with kids, or I don't know, we have interaction with people almost everywhere. And kind of really getting where people are, or also from my side, really embodying what I want to transport in a way. And especially children, they are very sensitive to it.
Mm,
So maybe you say something where you think you mean that, but on other levels you doubt, or there
oh,
comes
yeah.
something in from past experiences. They totally get it, even though they maybe not able to communicate that there is something not matching. But what comes is that there is a irritation happening. And we can have that also with adults where, hang on, something feels weird here, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
that's often because the different levels of who we are not aligned,
Yeah,
are
correct.
not transmitting the same quality. And
Mm,
that kind of, how to say, mm, the possibility that it creates more confusion than clarity is just the case.
yeah. And that's what I love about it is this empowered choice to choose what qualities you choose on each level of your being. So, what I would love to ask you to clarify for our listeners is about the geometric figures, because in this course, you use geometry, sacred geometry, it's called. And I know that this is an ancient study which somehow got lost. I would love to know your perspective about that, because it's very rare that I heard the term sacred geometry. Once again, I searched in on Google. This is how I came across your course back then, 8 years ago. And yeah, it's a lost study, but I think it's an ancient study, and it's built basically on geometry. So I would love you to explain a bit more on our to our listeners, how is this energy mastery and geometry interconnected with each other?
Mhm. I mean, I'm aware of that there are many different cultures who worked or had this knowledge about sacred geometry.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that that's the case. I didn't study others.
Mm-hmm.
So that what I got initiated in and is coming from the Mayan culture,
Oh.
from old Mayan culture. And basically, you could see those different shapes as just as representatives for specific qualities.
Mm.
And also we work with colors, so the quality of the shapes applies mostly on the mental level, how thoughts and words are created, and the frequency of color, they work more on the emotional level. And we work together with them because, as we said already, we want to have an alignment and address the different levels. And so we address the mental level, we address the emotional level, of course, the spiritual as well. But there we are on a plane where it's more in the formless, in the less material. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the physical plane, which is the apparatus basically, where we register the differences. Yeah.
Mm. So when you mentioned about the colors and geometries, because I worked a lot with manifestation and bringing on reality, I realized that I use a lot since our course, especially much more awarely, the colors that I want to bring. And by the way, I absolutely want to share that when one masters, would it be an energy language, sacred geometry, interconnected, these two, of course, I think it directly you are mastering creating of a reality in a physical term, whatever we call it manifestation or any other wording that are used these days. Um, I found out that after this course, I became much more skilled in creating or attracting that reality which I want. And indeed, colors help me a lot. So, for example, blue, I'm wearing blue right now. Blue brings the quality of confidence, and I'm much more in tune with the colors now than I ever was before. So, I very consciously choose what color do I need for a certain reality, for a certain project, for a certain situation. And of course, shapes, geometrical shapes. I mean, for me, it was very interesting when I watched once the documentary how our, well, universe and planet is built based on geometrical shapes and similar patterns that repeat themselves. So for me, Puria, your course was really a mind-blowing, like
Mhm.
awakening that you can use those shapes to actually attract the reality. And I do remember during one of the courses, you mentioned a shape that people can use as an energy for their wallets to attract money and expansion. And personally, my favorite was one of the shape that we could use for public speaking. And back then, when I was taking the course, I was a very non-confident public speaker. Since then, I've worked a lot on my public speaking and I went to practice and I went to different stages. I went to Toastmasters, but I always used the technique that you taught to use the geometric shape to project your voice and to project your energy to an audience. So it was very useful and very practical. So all I want to say that I think the teaching is very practical, even though it sounds elusive and energetic, etc. Like it's non-tangible, but actually you really can make it very tangible at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I'm a very practical person. Of course, I'm also interested in the unseen world and going deeper and what is there. But I mean, at the end of the day, it matters when in my ordinary practical life, I see influences of that. If
Mm,
not, I mean, then it's kind of entertaining or something like that. But it's not about entertaining. It's really about how does it matter in your life?
mm,
And the application of how often and how people use it really varies. For me, it was not a single day passed since I got to know that where I don't use it. It's just part of my life.
wow.
And for others, it's maybe different.
Mm.
Like with yoga, some practice every day or several
I
times,
like
some a
that.
week or a month. Some go to a class and they say, wow, that weekend or that week was wonderful, but they don't continue with it. And it's a bit similar. Or I know people they got the initiations, and 2 years later, they kind of, now I'm more and more realizing how practical that also is.
Yeah,
So it really varies. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
also lovely because it's kind of, we activate this wisdom inside of you. And I say we because it needs me giving it out, emitting it, and then it needs the receiver
Receiver.
in a way. So it's a teamwork, and then it's activated, it's alive, and you can choose when you use it or not.
That's amazing. So what I would love to ask you is, um, for who do you think this course is best suited?
Oh, I have to laugh because most people say, I just felt attracted. I don't know why.
Like me, by the way. I was like, I don't know why, but I need this course. This was literally my thoughts that were going. I had no idea why and what I signed even up for, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. As I was with my initial, when I met this, I just had this vision, something new comes, and then there was it, and I took it. I didn't know that it's about ancient shamanic wisdom. I never read books about shamanism or something like that. So, but there was this attraction. parts in me knew this is your next step. So, as I mentioned already, it's very practical. It benefits in communication a lot, in being more aware, more clear, more conscious in the world. And I think, I mean, that's for everybody in a way, but
Yeah.
especially when you have a profession where you work with people,
Yeah.
uh, then I mean, I had teachers which said, the atmosphere in the classroom, I now can choose what atmosphere we have in the classroom. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, mhm,
Personally, I feel that for those who don't trust their intuition, right? Because not everybody
mhm.
trusts, like they might have this thing that, oh, I need to take that, but then, well, there are some other factors that block this intuitive calling. But I believe those people who are even searching for themselves, wanting to expand their inner skills, there are skills that they were not even aware of they had, like myself. I think this is an ideal course that
Yeah, or
I
also, there can be a vague feeling. I mean, maybe life is beautiful, you're successful in your profession, but
Mm.
there is the sense there is something more. I know
Yeah.
something is more. I don't know what, but there is a sense I'm more than I'm just uh, embodying right now.
Oh,
Can be also as vague as that. And maybe for people, when they hear sacred geometry and they think of the maths in school and they don't have a good relationship with it doesn't have anything to do with mathematics in the first place
yeah.
or
Yeah.
that. So,
Oh,
I
yeah. It's
mean,
very
if
good you're
people would
clarifying.
come because they would be interested of that, they would be not satisfied. It's more really working more on a very intuitive and not
Yeah.
graspable level, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it
No.
it seeps into the mind, into the feelings, into the physical form. Um, yeah, and because you also address the different qualities you can kind of use. I just remember in the last class, there was actually, he's a friend of mine. We know each other privately since a few years, and he never was in the class, but he felt attracted. He was in a very difficult state, was sick for 4 or 5 months, didn't
Mhm.
feel good, had a really low energy on a professional level since 10 years. He's kind of trying to make his business flourish. And uh, really, and that was a course here in my yurt, a physical course. It was really dense in 2.5 days. After these 2 days, he said, the sickness is gone. I'm totally clear. Energy
Wow.
level is really high. And then I met him afterwards, I think 2 or 3 months later, and he said he applied just one specific quality
Wow.
and he offered a course and he had immediately 10 participants. So,
Wow. That's
yeah,
amazing. So he just applied one of the patterns.
one quality where he resonated with, and that's a quality which kind of you could say it's a very strong cleansing quality, like it rushes through energy if something is stuck, because he had that issue, let's say 10-ish years. So it was
Oh,
kind of dense matter in the tube, so to speak, and he used that and not kind of every day for an hour. No, just briefly for 2 or 3 days, thinking of it, emitting it,
wow.
vibrating in it, thinking of his
That is
difficult
amazing.
state in his business. And I mean, he was so happy and
Of
and
course.
he said, wow, that was my best investment. He said, I was healthy, I had energy, and my
Yeah,
business is
yeah,
running
yeah.
better.
course, if a 10 years problem suddenly evaporates, I can imagine he was jumping from joy. And I absolutely must testify that this course has nothing to do with geometry. I was rubbish at geometry in my school, so I would have never taken it if it was just geometry. But if I really have to summarize this course in one sentence, it is you become architect of your life, very conscious architect of your life, and you decide which building blocks you put where in order to experience it. Because at the end of the day, it's also emotions, it's how you feel, right? I apply a lot on how I feel. Like, I want to feel like this. And I remember that there were combinations of color patterns and geometric shapes that we had to apply, like you taught us, and it was very solid. I was like, wow, it can, and it can be instant. For me, this is the most mind-blowing thing, that you use it instant, you imagine it, it instantly shifted for me. I really felt
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
So, Puria, what are
You're addressing many things. I mean, while I'm listening, several things just pop up because the frequency on which we are working is called the indigo frequency.
is it?
And that's, mhm. So the indigo frequency, so to speak, is the foundation on which the initiations take place, on
Mhm.
which the learning takes place. And that frequency is faster than the speed of light. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
fast. It doesn't take
Yeah,
hours, days,
it
years. It's
is
fast.
seconds. It is seconds. It is seconds.
Yeah.
That
So
is
this is
true.
one. And what was the other thing you just mentioned? Hang on. Ah,
It,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, Often we feel victim. We feel as victims of circumstances. With a situation with colleagues or uh, in a relationship
Mm.
or in our work life, we can feel like a victim of circumstances and giving power away. But here you learn that you can master
Yeah,
what you are
yeah,
emitting, and that influences a room. Kind of, you can, in a way, you can
yeah.
take responsibility. Maybe there is a team meeting and you think, oh, it's confused, or there's a lot of happening, not really clear quality. You, as one being in the room, can choose to bring the quality of clarity into the room, and all will benefit from it.
Yeah.
And what's also happening that when you are more clear about qualities you are surrounded by, you maybe choose different environments more consciously. Often we can be in a place where we are bombarded with qualities which are not really of benefit. And
Mm.
then you say, I don't put my body in that environment anymore. That
Yeah.
can also be the case. I had cases where people quit their job, looked for another job, even a divorce. I know of a
I
divorce
mean,
because she was so
yeah,
clear that she doesn't want to share her life with that beautiful being anymore. It just didn't
yeah,
match anymore.
correct, correct. And it doesn't mean to say that it, I think what we are saying here is that some old and past energies can fall off that don't serve the evolution of your life anymore.
That's actually our purpose,
Yeah,
preparing the ground that the
yeah.
system is really open. First of all, is clearing out what
Of
doesn't
the
serve
past. Yeah,
anymore.
past
So
negative
it's in
energy.
a way, it's a deep
Yeah, correct.
clearing, cleansing process. Could
Yeah,
also attract someone who is in a process of maybe having overweight or feeling I want to cleanse my system. I look for better food. I maybe take some supplements. And just for the sense of clearing the system in all levels, that
mm.
could also be an
Yeah,
attraction just for
yeah,
that 8 weeks,
yeah.
supporting the cleansing on those levels as well.
It's amazing. I mean, how many applications you can use. And I'm curious to ask you, what is your personal applications? As I said, to me, the most common ones I use in public speaking and I use for wealth attraction. I think something that so many people are striving for in these days. But I don't mean only monetary wealth. I need to be clear. There's wealth that overall encompasses abundance. What
Mhm.
is something that you find yourself using most of the time?
It really depends on the circumstances. Now I'm wearing red.
Mm.
Red is the color of motivation, of getting energized. Here it was early morning when I got up. We had -8 degrees. It's very difficult to move the body. In the yurt, it had 10 degrees. So I chose a color which brings motivation,
Mm.
vitality, movement into my system.
Correct.
And in other circumstances, I would use something else. And now, I mean, after 20 years being in those qualities immersed, I often kind of uh, notice that a quality comes in which I didn't consciously choose, but I notice, this is now flowing through my system. And actually, that's really good. It's really beneficial. So, in a way, you really work together with a higher intelligence, and it also works for you, where your mind not necessarily needs to choose consciously. You know what I mean?
I know what
That
you
can
mean.
also be that you suddenly sit here and just notice, this came. Or, I mean, in we now start to offer a basic course, but
Yeah,
the whole language exists of 80 shapes and 144 colors. So, and imagine the variation of it.
that is
And it's
amazing.
always like when you start learning a language, you don't want to start reading Shakespeare in the first class. You start with simple words. This is what
Mhm.
we also do. We start with more basic qualities and you can vary. And then if you feel attracted, there is much more possible. And there is, for example, one quality which we call like a um, just like a polishing quality,
Oh,
so to speak. And sometimes something already kind of is quite well, or you feel quite good.
yeah.
But then I noticed there comes this polishing quality in, and you just notice, it adds a more shining, more a brilliance, more,
Wow.
I don't know, a special
Wow.
sparkling to it, you
And
know?
it has a geometric form attached to that itself, right? So, yeah, that is for me mind-blowing. I was just about to ask you what is the difference between basic and advanced course. And obviously, now you brought an advanced quality figure experience, and that is the polishing and shining effect, which, of course, then you experience it as a very beautiful feeling, I can imagine. So, that answers the question on its own. Lovely. And Puria, I would love to ask you because here's a funny story how I found you. To our listeners, I wanted to find a system or some sort of a way to learn a foreign language quickly. And so I typed in Google learning language quickly, like as a shortcut. I was even thinking, there's so many methodologies. Is there one that can just like literally download the language? It was just a fantasy, but you never know. So then on a certain page, I found you and it said energy language. And as I said, intuition told me, yes, absolutely go for it. So I signed up immediately. And at the end of the course, I was thinking, oh my God, I just learned something so much more powerful than a skill of just any other language. I just learned a universal language. And this is what it feels to me that sacred geometry and this energy language is a universal language, that it just works simply anywhere, everywhere, on all levels. And I find just mesmerizing. And what I find mind-blowing is this, how is this information so hidden? I
Mhm.
don't know any other person. And of course, there are obviously probably other sacred geometry teachers, but you are the only person that I've met in many, many years that teaches that. So why is this information so like so thin layered, and you're
Mm-hmm.
hidden, almost like it's hidden, like it's a gem hidden in some big forest. And we are now uncovering it. And my big intention is just that the world experiences the big gift that is right there. You're
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful teacher, but why is it hidden? What do you think?
To be honest, I don't know. I actually don't know. And I mean, it's not really hidden. I mean, I offered that also on my website.
Yeah, yeah, not hidden by you.
Others
I don't mean
maybe
that.
as
Yeah.
genau, yeah. But in a way, I think there needs to be a certain opening or
Mm,
a certain openness that there exists more than just the material world,
yeah.
because it really works on different level. And I would say hardcore materialists,
Mm,
hardcore people which only think the mind, the intellect is the only thing where you can learn, they would not be happy in this course. And I mean, look in schools, what is the main way of teaching? Information, in a way, sharing information. It's intellectual.
yeah, of
And
course.
yes, we also learned in the last decades that emotions also play a role. So in videos, in news, you can see they play also with the emotional energies, kind of to convince you or to bring
Mm,
you into something. So it's coming more and more to the surface. But it maybe it also requires a certain maturity, you could say, also wanting to be responsible for
wow.
your life. You know, there are
Wow.
people, they are happy if they have people they tell them what to do and they don't have to think a lot and be just kind of sedated by, I don't know, music, by Netflix. I don't know. You know, I don't want to judge. Please don't understand that as a judgment, but maybe as a
Yeah.
distinction. Why or who would be attracted to
Yeah,
those teachings?
I think you just hit the nail on the head because when you learn sacred geometry, you realize you are in charge of your life and no one else is
Absolutely.
in charge of your life. And this is how we are taught to that. Even my grandma always said, well, this was my fate. She would love to say that this was my fate. So, but that's not true, right? The awareness that things are not our fate and we create our fate, I guess, became more recently open to us, to majority of people. And yeah, I hope that more and more people realize that we create our reality, nobody else creates. And we have this amazing tool of energy language, geometry, sacred geometry, what we call it, to create your reality consciously, and not to just feel that you were born into situation and you need to live the whole life according to that situation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for this opportunity that I have met you and that you imparted and in this wisdom and I got initiated. And that's why
Mhm.
it's my big wish
Mhm.
that more and more and more people have the blessing of this knowledge, of this capacity, of that inner switch that I believe everybody has, that it's switched on to see that there's so much more to us than what we believe or logical mind believes.
Mhm.
So, what are some things that we didn't cover but we should share? If you have some things before we close off our
Mhm.
information
Mhm.
for people.
Yeah. I mean, what I want to say, because everything is a matter of evolving, and this is energy language as well, me as a person, and also the teachings. So, what I included in the last years is really the knowledge about how to shift consciousness into the heart, because that's also a very important factor to be connected with your heart desire and deeper levels. This is maybe other people who would be sharing those teachings based from the Mayan culture wouldn't bring into. And
Mm.
what I'm also more and more bringing in, because you address these four levels, which are really kind of connected to our unique being, the physical level, the mental level, emotional level, and also the spiritual level. And we have a very thin layer, which we call the etheric level, which is kind of between just a layer above our physical level where mainly acupuncture works on, even though the needle go into the flesh, it works a lot on that level. I really also bring in the bigger picture of unity consciousness,
Mm.
which isn't which isn't attached to our individual form, our body form, and that gets even more vague. But in a way, when we also become conscious of that level, we are much more attuned to a bigger picture because we can also go a little bit on a narrow road with this, oh, I know what I need and I can manifest and da da da. But we are really part of a huge, huge human family and of the planet and everything. And when we kind of really are aware of that level as well, we can take choices, or we can find our really matching place in life in that bigger picture. So, and that's not kind of addressed in a way where we talk a lot about it or where it's highlighted, but we, in a way, when we move through our bodies, this is also included.
Mm.
So your decisions and your uh, inspiration is not just coming from a narrow
Correct.
individual
Yeah.
perspective, but really connected to a much
A
larger view.
universal consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. And with that, I want to wish our listeners to get inspired with what we have to share. I want to thank you again, Puria. Your course was a blessing to me 7 years ago. I've been actively using and blessed with the skill that it opened up with me. And I really feel it's almost a mission to help you bring this knowledge and skill sets forward so more and more people get the same gift, similar gift, or whatever their soul gifts are to shine through this. So, to our listeners, I would like to mention that we are launching this course together with Puria, the 8 week energy language. Please join us. You can also find it on the website. All the details you will find on the website that will be mentioned in the YouTube, in the description. But I want to thank once again, Furia. It's an absolute honor that I know you and that I have a chance to roll out this workshop seminar with you. And if you would like to also share anything before we say goodbye, but once again, thank you for being
Mm.
here.
Yeah, I just want to really thank you, Irina, because you reached out and brought that probability to the surface that we do something together, because I really resonate a lot that the time of where we are just on our own, doing our own thing is kind of disappearing more and more. I personally get much more joy of anything in the doing it together.
Mm,
And I feel the two of us, we have so unique qualities, and it's really just a fun and joy to notice the flow between us. And I would say uh, the richness of the field we can offer for people who are interested is just increasing with offering it together.
all right. Yes, I agree. And with that, thank you again, and thank you to our listeners. And we hope to see you in the workshops that are beginning next month.
Mm,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.